This has to be some sort of sick, twisted, cruel joke. Another weekend, another international break, no company ball, but that means it's time for the November international break state of the season official address for Bayern Munich. Today, recording this one Friday, November 14th. I even got typed notes this time, so I'm really trying to up the ante instead of struggling to read my chicken scratch in a notebook. But yeah, let me just get right into things here. Please like, please subscribe. I'll throw the banner down here. Jim and I at Always Bayern Chelsea. I'm the Bayern fan. Jim's the Chelsea fan. We're really trying to up the ante and up the production value in our videos with what we got going on. I apologize. The quality hasn't been great the last couple of times. I really do hope it's better this time. Everything looks good on my end. You know, this state of the season address, I've been given these during international breaks, winter pauses, whatever, just as a kind of a heat check for where we are, what we're feeling with Bayern Munich. I'm going to go through and kind of review the season, review the records, review the matches a little bit, and go back, look at my predictions that I made before the season, maybe update them, see how I'm feeling with things, as well as rate every single individual player on Bayern from a scale of 1 to 10, rate Vincent Kompany as a manager, and then go over the entire Bundesliga table because, yes, I'm a Bundesliga fanatic. I love watching the Bundesliga. So without further ado, let's dive into Bayern Munich's season, and I'm going to go ahead and bring up my graphics here. First things first, the Bundesliga. How has Bayern fared? Bayern is sitting on top of the table, as you can see right here. Bayern Munich has played 10 matches in the Bundesliga, won 9. They drew 1, their most recent match, actually, to Union Berlin. 0 losses. 0 losses across all competitions, actually. Epic. Very good, very beautiful for Bayern Munich to have that unbeaten record so far. Obviously, not all wins, again, with their most recent loss to Union Berlin. But this right here, this goal differential, plus 29, is absolutely comical. The fact that they have a plus 29 goal differential already at this point is insane. But yeah, last 5 matches, you'll see here, we got that draw to Union Berlin I talked about. Prior to that, they did beat Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League, which we'll talk about. PSG is, one of the best teams in the world. Bayern took them down. Actually, Bayern beat the world champions, Chelsea, and the European champions, PSG. So that's what we're looking at right now. Another win in the Bundesliga against Bayer Leverkusen. With a B squad, that one was really impressive. And then they beat Gladbach, beat Club Brugge in the Champions League, beat Dortmund, and beat Frankfurt before that. So very impressive stuff from Bayern Munich as a whole, Vincent Kompany's boys. But yeah, I mean, only other thing to point out here in the Bundesliga, again, 35 goals for 6 goals conceded. Very, very impressive. Now let's move over to the DFB Pokal quick, actually, before I jump ship and talk about Champions League or anything else. DFB Pokal, Bayern Munich has won their first 2 matches. So they beat Wehen Wiesbaden in the first round, actually one of their worst matches of the year. But these cup matches are crazy. You know, you go away to if you're Bayern, you go away because they always seem to play away for some reason in the Pokal. But 2 really tough environments. The knockout fashion of the cup always makes things interesting in all of Germany, really across Europe. I mean, you see it in England too, for sure. But yeah, they beat Wehen Wiesbaden from a Harry Kane header at the death, 3-2. And then they went away to Köln, who, if you see here in the Bundesliga table, kind of a rough draw for the second round. Köln is sitting in 9th place. They're having a decent season. Bayern went away and actually went down 1-0, but ended up winning that match 4-1. So really great comeback. That was their first time, I believe, being down in the season. At that point, obviously they were down to Berlin before coming back, but went down 1-0 and were only down for about 5 minutes in that cup match before scoring 4 unanswered goals. So really good stuff there. And next, Bayern Munich returns to the scene of the crime in the round of 16. They will be playing Union Berlin away So on one hand, I think Bayern's going to be extra fired up for that one, knowing that they did um, drop points to them in the Bundesliga. They're only dropped points of the entire season. But on the other hand, I think Berlin will be fired up as well, obviously playing in front of that home crowd that was so raucous and really helped them in that cup match. In that Bundesliga match. I think the home crowd will help them again in that cup match. And they know that they can, challenge Bayern for sure. So we'll talk about my predictions for how I think things are going to go in a little bit. So hey, stick around if you want to hear who I think is going to win that one. But yeah, overall it's been um, kind of a tricky season to gauge for the cup, but Bayern is still alive in it. So that's really what matters at the end of the day when we're talking about these crazy cup matches. But yeah, let's talk about the Champions League now, where Bayern Munich fares just as well as they do in the Bundesliga in terms of the standings, sitting on top of the world. That's a Doc Watson reference. If you get that, please comment because I'd love to talk bluegrass, traditional American music with you. But yeah, sitting on top of the table, 4 matches played, 4 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses, plus 11 goal differential. That's 14 goals scored and 3 goals conceded. And that's extremely impressive because they just played away at PSG, as I mentioned, as well as facing Chelsea at home. So those are 2 massively tough matches, really. 2 European, you know, I'll call PSG a giant. Chelsea, I think, is a solid European team. I'll say a very, very good Premier League team. I mean, they're sitting at what, second in the Premier League table right now. So Chelsea is no slouch either. But yeah, that puts Bayern with 12 points ahead of Arsenal, who they go to play in the Champions League after this break. So a really tough Champions League schedule for Bayern. There's really no easy schedules per se in this new league phase format, but Bayern had to play the second place team basically 2 times in a row, 2 match days in a row, away. So away at Paris and then away at Arsenal. But yeah, Bayern is looking good as of right now in the Champions League. You can see this match here coming up for Bayern. Once we return from the international break, you do have Freiburg a day before mine and Jim's birthday on November 22nd. Jim and I both were born on November 23rd, believe it or not. So you got that one, a good way to ease us into our birthday weekend. And then Bayern turns around quickly and faces Arsenal the 26th in the Champions League there. So yeah, where do we go now? What do we think about Bayern Munich? It's hard to think anything other than extremely positive thoughts about this team. The squad looks great. They're playing as a unit. Every element of the squad is impressive to me right now. The attack being the crown jewel of this Bayern Munich team at the moment. Harry Kane is playing like the best player in the world, bar none. Michael Olise, Luis Diaz, Serge Gnabry, they're all extremely, extremely productive. And then you have the outside backs really bombing up into the attack, namely Konrad Leimer on that right-hand side. You have guys like Joshua Kimmich, Alexander Pavlovich playing a key role in the attack as well. But that midfield, speaking of, is extremely solid at the moment as well. You have Pavlovich, you have Kimmich, you have Leon Goretzka, who is certainly hated by Bayern Munich fans, but has been not bad so far this season. And then you have guys like Tom Bischoff, who is a midfielder by trade, playing oftentimes out of position at left back, just because that's where he can get the minutes at the moment. But you have all these options in the midfield to choose if you're Vincent Kompany, and they're looking great. The defense as well has impressed me. Manuel Neuer is playing like the best goalkeeper in the world. I mean, he's playing like vintage Manuel Neuer. Outside of that one game against Union Berlin with that horrible mistake where he pretty much just fumbled the ball into the goal. Let's erase that from our memories for a second and just say that Neuer is just having a vintage season. I don't think there's any other way to slice it. The back line as well. Upamecano is one of the best center backs in the world. Jonathan Tah had a bit of a rocky start at his Bayern Munich tenure, I guess, with his Bayern Munich days, but he is turned things around as of late and is playing great, if you ask me. Josip Stanisic playing out of position often at left back looks great. Very solid defensively. And then you have, of course, as mentioned previously, Konrad Laimer playing like one of the most important players on this whole team. So there you go. Bayern Munich is looking great, and Vincent Kompany is essentially pulling all the right strings. He's, for the most part, outside of that Berlin match, I would say he's had his finger on the pulse of this squad in terms of when to rotate guys, when to play his best players. I think he has done a great job. I think some of the guys have been fatigued lately, but overall, Kompany has been doing great. So now, let's move on into my predictions. What did I think at the beginning of the year, and what do I think about things now? All right, so starting off with the one trophy that Bayern Munich has already won this year, the Franz Beckenbauer Super Cup. Bayern Munich finished uh, finished first. I guess it's one match. Bayern Munich played the winners of the DFB Pokal from last year, which was Stuttgart. Bayern Munich winning the Bundesliga, of course, won that match 2-1. And that was a great win. Stuttgart is a scrappy team, well coached, Sebastian Hoeneß. At that point, they still had Nick Waldemata. And although I don't really rate their defense very high, I think they have a great midfield, a great attack. Obviously, Angelo Stiller in that midfield. And their attack, even without Nick Waldemata, is still solid. So Bayern got the win there. They won the Franz Beckenbauer Super Cup. As I predicted, I called that one, and they did it. So I'm 1 for 1 so far. Moving on to the Bundesliga, I predicted them to be the champions of the Bundesliga, and lo and behold, I'm sticking with my guns in that one. They're 6 points ahead of RB Leipzig, if you see here, 7 points ahead of Borussia Dortmund, because even though Bayern did drop points last week, so did Leipzig and Dortmund. And that's just how the cookie has been crumbling for those teams in recent years. But yeah, Bayern, I think, is essentially a shoo-in to win the Bundesliga. I'll knock on wood here. Never say never, because crazy things can happen. People can get injured, teams can get hot, whatever. But I would be lying if I said I have any shred of a doubt in my mind that Bayern will not win the Bundesliga. I'll put it that way. Moving on to the DFB Pokal. I believe I did predict them to be champions of the Pokal, and I'm going to stick with that prediction. Bayern should win the Pokal. Again, like, crazy things happen in these cup matches. I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know, something outside of anybody's control basically happened and knocked Bayern out of the cup, but I don't see it happening in terms of a prediction. I'm going to stick with Bayern because I think they're far and away the best team in Germany, so I think it'd be foolish of me not to predict them to win that DFB Pokal. But Champions League, here's where things get interesting, because a team like Bayern Munich is expected to win the Bundesliga. They're also basically expected to win the DFB Pokal. So what do I think they're going to do in the Champions League? Well, before the season, I predicted them to get knocked out in the quarterfinals. I had thought that they would make a run, maybe semifinals if they got a favorable draw, but I believe my official prediction was a quarterfinal crash out, because I just didn't think that they were up at that upper echelon of teams. To be honest, before the season started, I thought it was going to be like Liverpool, PSG, Barcelona, and maybe Real Madrid as well. I didn't quite think Bayern was I think they could challenge those teams, but before the season, I didn't think they would be able to beat those teams in a Champions League scenario. Now I do, however. Now I do think this Bayern Munich squad, still without Jamal Musiala, still without Alphonso Davies, and again, both of those guys had just brutal injuries where you don't necessarily know how they're going to come back, if they're going to come back as dangerous in their first season back necessarily. But even without those guys, they're looking like the best team in Europe right now. I cannot talk about this in any other way, because I truly believe that right now they're playing like the best team in Europe. Trophies are not won in November, right? We all know that. Trophies are not won in November. I'm not saying that because they're the best team in Europe right now, they're a shoo-in to win the Champions League. That would be asinine to say. It's a long season again. Anything can happen. Guys can get injured. Guys can get fatigued. Bayern Munich knows that well. They've gone into the crunch time of Champions League matches the last 2 years in a row, decimated by injuries. I'm talking 5, 6, 7 starters, top players injured. And to their credit, they put up a good fight against Inter last year, but they were just so injured, and they still almost won. Same with against Real Madrid 2 years ago. But I'm gonna say that I think this Bayern team can definitely win the Champions League, based off how they're playing right now. Maybe I'll even go in and if I had to make a prediction right now in November, I'll say it. I'm a little bit of an optimist, and I love this Bayern Munich squad. I love Vincent Kompany as a manager for this squad right now. So I'll go ahead and say that they're going to win the Champions League. There you go. Put it put it down. You heard it here first. So now we move into player rankings. Scale of 1 through 10, I'm going to rate every player on this Bayern Munich roster, and talk about how I think they have performed. We're talking whole season up until this point. Past years out of the question. This season only. Let's go. Let's start with goalkeepers. I am not going to be able to rate some of these guys like Sven Ulreich. He just hasn't played enough. I mean, actually, he hasn't played at all. Let's be honest. So he doesn't get a rating. I'm not going to rate him. So first up for keepers, Jonas Erbig. I'm giving him a 7.5 out of 10. Jonas Erbig has only played 3 matches so far for Bayern Munich. You got that Gladbach match. You got the Köln match in the Pokal, and you got the Vehan Wiesbaden match in the Pokal. Neuer suspended for that red card against Leverkusen last year. So Jonas Erbig has done everything I could possibly ask of him. He's stepped up, which is not easy when you don't have consistent playing time. He has that swagger. He has that aura. He has that confidence. Maybe not of a Manuel Neuer, but close to it, whereas I feel like Nubel, Peretz, these other guys that Bayern brought in to eventually take the mantle from Neuer, did not have that. Jonas Erbig, I think he does, and I really do believe in the kid. I think he's been solid when called upon, basically done everything you could ask him to do, and I'm just very happy with him so far. Now up to Manuel Neuer. 9 out of 10 for Neuer. I think he's been absolutely phenomenal this year at the very highest level. We saw it against PSG, man of the match type performance against the best team or one of the best teams in Europe at the moment. The only hiccup for Neuer was that Union Berlin match, as I mentioned, really let in an unacceptable goal. But Neuer at the moment is dynamite. He is beating Father Time. Father Time catches up to us all, but at the moment, Manuel Neuer is turning back the hands on the clock and beating Father Time with these vintage performances. Will he retire after this year? Will he retire after next year? Who knows? But at the moment, it looks like he is here to stay, just because of how good he's been playing, to be quite honest with you. And I really can't fault Neuer for much of anything this year. I just think he's been so good, and there really is no other goalkeeper in the world that I would personally rather have. Next up, defenders. I cannot rate Alphonso Davies and Hiroki Ito just because they have not played at all. They are both still injured. And some of these guys, it's more the case with midfielders and attackers when we get there. Forwards, SofaScore has them listed as, but I kind of break up midfielders versus attackers in a little bit different way, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Sasha Bouet we'll start with for defenders. 5 out of 10 for me. Sasha Bouet just has not been great. He's had a couple of very nice matches this year, but for the most part, he just hasn't been great. He doesn't deserve a starting role on this roster, in my opinion. Really not even that great of a bench option. I mean, he's been okay, but to be honest with you, Bayern overpaid for him, and I think he's a guy that they probably should look to get rid of. I just have not been very impressed with him so far this season, outside of 1 or 2 matches, really, to be quite frank with you. I don't think he's quite Bayern Munich level, and that's not to totally trash the guy, but it's a high level you got to get to play on Bayern Munich, and Sasha Bouet does not appear to be it. Rafael Guerrero next. I'm giving him a 6 out of 10. I think Rafael Guerrero has his value and has his uses for this team. I don't think it's as a defender any longer, unless it's one of these games where Bayern is going to have like 80% possession and have absolutely no defending to do. I think Guerrero can flex in at that, attacking midfield 10 role, sometimes maybe at left wing. Guerrero's more of a wing back in my mind than he is like a left back or right back at this point in his career. So I think he, can provide some value for Bayern as a bench guy, a role type player basically, when he is needed, but I just don't think it's very often, and definitely not as a starter, that you're going to use Rafael Guerrero. Next up, we're going to go Kim Min-jae. I'm giving Kim a 7. I think he has been solid this year. I really do. Last year he was plagued by injuries, played through them, and I think that those injuries affected his performances. Quite frankly, this year I think he just has been solid. When he has gotten the call, which hasn't been a lot because Bayern brought in Jonathan Tah to partner with Dayot Upamecano as the starting 2 center backs, and Kim Min-jae, has had a few choppy performances here and there this year, but overall, I just think he's been solid, and that's the best way I can describe it. All right, next up, we got Josip Stanisic. I think Stanisic has been very solid. I'm giving him a 7.5. I'm maybe a little bit more of a Stanisic fan than some people are, but to be honest with you, the guy is playing out of position at left back, and I think he's doing a very, very solid job of filling in for Alphonso Davies, Hiroki Ito, as those two have been injured. I think Stanisic is a dynamite right back. Now, is he going to usurp Konrad Laimer at that role? No, I don't think he is. And I don't think he will, just because Laimer has been the shock of the world with how dynamite he's been. Honestly, Laimer is playing like one of the better right backs in Europe at the moment. But Stanisic has been so solid. I think Stanisic is a guy you really want to have on your team. Right back, left back, center back. The guy can play anywhere on the back line and has done a solid job filling in wherever he's been needed. And I honestly think he could and maybe should be the starting right back on the majority of European teams. So that's how highly I rate Stanisic, 7.5. Next up, you got Jonathan Tah. If I can find him, there he is. Jonathan Tah, I'm giving a 7.5 out of 10 as well. I mentioned it before. I think he had a rough start to his time at Bayern Munich, but lately has been so good, and so good in key matches. That's PSG. I think he was really solid. That's Leverkusen, obviously. I'm just looking at some of the recent ones. Köln, Club Brugge. I think Tah has just been very good lately, like rock solid. And if he can keep up this form against the PSGs of the world, Bayern is, again, like a favorite to win the Champions League. That's how good I think Tah has been lately. Next up is Dayot Upamecano, who I have at a 9 out of 10. Dayot Upamecano, yeah, I think he's been great this year. Not quite perfect. I think he's had a few matches where he's looked fatigued, but overall, I think he's been great, and great to the level of one of the best center backs in the world. So that's how highly I rate Dayot Upamecano. He has truly blossomed under Vincent Kompany. Last year, I thought he was great as well. Prior to last year, he was prone to some mistakes in big time matches, but I think Vincent Kompany is just getting the best out of Upa. I think Upa is comfortable in Munich. I think he's great under Kompany. I think he needs to extend his contract. I think Bayern needs to offer him what he wants and get that contract extension done, because I really do think Upamecano is one of those key players in this Bayern Munich squad. And next up is King Konrad Laimer. I'm giving Laimer a 10 out of 10. I really am shocked at what Konrad Laimer has been able to do for Bayern Munich in terms of defending, in terms of attacking, in terms of running nonstop 90 plus minutes every single match, week after week. The guy has 3 lungs. The guy is just honestly like one of the most important players on this Bayern Munich team, and that is insane to say, right? Like, he plays right back, which isn't one of the most important positions. He was a midfielder and is now playing right back, so it's just crazy to think. But the guy, last year when he was learning to play this right back position, I think had a few lapses in positioning, defensive positioning, but we haven't even seen that this year. I can't think to rate him anything other than perfect. So Konrad Laimer, 10 out of 10. You're my boy, Connie Laimer. And next, let's move on now to that midfield. which again, some of these guys I'm rating as attackers, not midfielders. So hold your horses if you're waiting for the Michael Olise's, the Serge Gnabry's, the I guess that's it, maybe Leonard Carls of the world. But yeah, first, let's start with Leon Goretzka. I'm giving Goretzka a 6 out of 10. I think Goretzka has been solid this year, but it has not been his best season. Yeah, where do I go with this, man? There's a lot of Leon Goretzka haters out there in the world, and I think he's better than the haters give him credit for. But at this point, really his ceiling, I think, under this Vincent Kompany led structured team, I think his ceiling is just solid. Last year I would have given him maybe a 7. I think he was better last year for the most part, but this year I think he's been I think he's been decent, but nothing special really. I think he put up a stinker against Union Berlin, and I would have much rather have seen Pavlovic for more of that match. But other than that, yeah, I think he's been solid, but nothing really special, to be honest with you. But let's move on now to Tom Bischoff, who, while he is, whoa, get out of here. There we go. While Bischoff is a midfielder, he's actually played a lot of left back under Kompany because Bischoff is one of those guys who is just that good that you need to find him minutes somewhere. And right now we have a crisis at the left back position just because of injury. But Tom Bischoff, I'm giving him a 7.5 out of 10. I'm really excited to see what Tom Bischoff can do. I mean, you saw it against Union Berlin. The guy came on for 10 minutes and laid in a perfect cross to Harry Kane from that left back role, which led to the equalizer. And I mean, you see it here. He just played for Germany's U21 team today, I think it was, and got a hattie. So Tom Bischoff truly is one of those youngsters who is deserving of more playing time and gonna force himself into the lineup, I think, with how good he's been. So, a few mistakes here and there. He had a yellow card against Gladbach in the dying moments of that match, if I remember correctly. He came on and got a yellow card against PSG, like right when he came on, if I'm remembering that correctly as well. So he's had a few immature moments, but that's what a guy of his age, I mean, he's 20 years old. That's what a guy of his age is going to have. And I'm not worried about him. On the contrary, I think he's going to be great. Next up, we got Alexander Pavlovic. I'm giving Pavlovic an 8 out of 10. I think Pavlovic, while he hasn't been perfect, is on his way to, I mean, I shouldn't even say on his way because, we saw him burst onto the scene 2 seasons ago, look phenomenal. Last year, Vincent Kompany called him one of the best players on the team. Actually, I think he did call him the best or most important, one of those phrasings, player on the team before he broke his collarbone. Then we saw him struggle with the broken collarbone, other injuries, illnesses, and Alexander Pavlovic never really got back to that level that we saw him originally have last year. This year, I think he's getting back to it. I think he is deserving of that starting role in the midfield alongside Joshua Kimmich in a, honestly, team that has a number of very good midfielders. So Pavlovic, 8 out of 10. I just think he's been very, very good this year. Albeit not perfect. I think he's been great, I'll say. I'll say very good, bordering on great. How's that for some semantics? But yeah, next up in the midfield, we have Joshua Kimmich. 9 out of 10 for Kimmich. Maybe even 9.5. How about I boost that up to a 9.5? Because I think Kimmich has been damn near perfect. I think there's really only been a couple, maybe like one game here, maybe 1 or 2 games here or there where he hasn't been essentially perfect for Bayern. He's exactly what this team needs. He's the engine of this team in the midfield. He really does it all. Defends, adds to the attack, controls the tempo of the match, build up play, like whatever you need Kimmich to do, he's going to do it. There's been, like I said, maybe just 1 or 2 games where he has been a little fatigued because he does play 90 minutes every match. For example, he's available in the Germany squad today against Luxembourg. You can see they're currently winning 2-0. And the guy was limping this morning. I mean, he injured his ankle for Germany. He's going to play against Slovakia in a couple days. I just know it. And literally, he's so injured right now that the guy can barely walk. And he's in the squad against Luxembourg and is, like I said, guaranteed he's going to play against Slovakia. So that's how much this guy plays. And it does wear him down every once in a while to the point where he doesn't have a perfect match. But when he's fresh, he is the most, I can't say the best or anything because Kane is the best, let's be honest. But Kimmich is up there every single match as most important player in this Bayern Munich squad. So moving on now to attackers. We got Jamal Musiala, who I cannot rate, obviously has not been in the squad, has not played a match so far this year with his injury that he sustained in the Club World Cup. Horrific ankle dangling on the edge of his leg type injury. But I'm going to go with Nico Jackson next. Nico Jackson, I am giving a 6 out of 10. He just has not been great for Bayern. He clearly does not fit in with this attack. I don't know if it's just the new players, if it's Kompany's structure, what Kompany's asking him to do, but he hasn't fit in with this attack. He has scored a couple of goals, so it's not like he's been god awful or completely unproductive, but it's just clear that at this point, Nico is nothing more than a backup to Harry Kane. Will he be able to score a goal or two in the Bundesliga here and there? Yeah, he will. But honestly, he's not even doing the things I thought he would do well, which was like lead a press and be active. His movement just hasn't looked great so far. So that's why I'm giving him a 6 out of 10. Hope that can go up as he gains more maybe confidence, but as he gains more experience playing with this Bayern Munich side. And next, we're moving up to young phenom Leonard Carl. I'm giving him a 8 out of 10. I just don't see how I can't give Carl anything other than like a very good to great rating. He's been phenomenal. I just said he's a young phenom. He burst onto this scene and is forcing his name onto the score sheet. He's forcing his name in the newspapers. He just, yeah, I mean, with some of these goals he's had this year, with his energy and edge that he brings, I mean, he's so confident. He's so energetic. He's so just a bundle of fire when he comes in every single time. So shout out to Leonard Carl for bringing some much needed, just like change of pace, I guess, in some of these matches that he comes in for Bayern at. And again, like the guy had a brace for this Germany U21 squad the other day. And Carl, I think he does make some mistakes. He turns the ball over because he's just so confident. Again, that's like nothing that I have that much of a problem with as a youngster. I think that's the type of thing that young players will do. And I think he'll grow and just get better and better. And I'm extremely excited and impressed with what Leonard Carl has brought to the table for Bayern so far. Next, we got Serge Gnabry. Gnabry, I'm giving an 8 out of 10 as well. Gnabry has found a renewed role under Vincent Kompany, playing that attacking midfield role mostly. In the absence of Jamal Musiala, Gnabry has been unselfish. Gnabry has been contributing to the attack. He fits in very well with Kane. He fits in very well with Luis Diaz and Michael Olise. Serge Gnabry is just a veteran who you want to have on your team. And again, like I can't speak highly enough of what he's done so far this season. Gnabry has been known to go up and then go up in form, I should say, and then dip down, get injured. And that could be coming for sure. I'm not, gonna write it off, I guess, or write it on maybe as a stellar season for Serge Gnabry through and through at this point, but so far it has been, and that's what I'm grading these guys on. Is so far, and Serge Gnabry has a lot of haters for sure, so they might not like me saying that, but I don't know how you can watch Bayern Munich and Serge Gnabry and not think that he just has been nothing short of great and really exactly what you need filling in that 10 role for Jamal Musiala. So next up, we got Luis Diaz. Where are you, Luis Diaz, on this list? Oh, you're under forwards. Okay, Luis Diaz, I'm giving him an 8.5 out of 10. Luis Diaz is a curious specimen in terms of the guy will make some of the best goals you've ever seen in your life. The guy never stops running. The guy tracks back. He contributes to this offense in a way that was obviously desperately needed, that we didn't see out of Kingsley Coman. We didn't see out of Leroy Sané, but we're seeing it out of Luis Diaz, and he's making this attack really click and come together as a cohesive unit. Now, the flip side of the coin is, while he will make worldly goals, while he will make classic goals, he will miss the absolute easiest goals that you or I could make. Standing in front of a wide open net, he'll shoot it wide or into the stands, but he'll score from an angle that is physically impossible, that you can watch 50 times over again. He'll score from it. He'll score top bins, breaking through 3 defenders, and he'll fire in laser beam rockets that you'll never expect anybody to do, and then miss the sitters. So Luis Diaz, again, his finishing leaves something to be desired, but his production is really, his production speaks for itself in a way that is you cannot fight too hard against him, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't even have words for it. That's what his production has done, and that's the confusion that a player like Luis Diaz has brought to me. But keep in mind, I'm rating him an 8.5 out of 10 because it is, I can't rip the guy for missing some of those easy ones because of all the amazing stuff he does for this Bayern Munich team and how desperately a player of his ilk was needed at that left wing position. Next up, you got Michael Olise. Not Jamal Musiala, but Michael Olise is listed as a midfielder as well. Michael Olise, I'm giving an 8.5 out of 10. Olise, yeah, again, like the guy has been so good. I do think there's been a number of matches, this Union Berlin match being one of them, where he was clearly fatigued and not at his best. But overall, I can't say many bad things about Michael Olise because of how productive he is, because of how fun he is to watch, because of how he's just one of the best right wingers in the world, and everybody and their mother wants him. Liverpool thinks they can take whoever they want from Bayern. We'll see about that. But Real Madrid, all these high level squads want him, and Michael Olise is just lighting the world on fire at Bayern Munich. He did it all last year. He continues to do it this year. He's one of my favorite players to watch because that's just how good Michael Olise is. 8.5 out of 10. This team would not be the same without him. And next, the man of the hour. Also, shout out to Wisdom Mike. I'm not rating Wisdom Mike because I don't think he has played enough for me to really give him a true rating. Harry Kane, 10 out of 10. Harry Edward Kane, the best player in the world. It cannot be understated what Harry Kane does for this team. He scores as many goals or more as every other player in the world. He, GA included, it's up there with every single player in the world, anybody in the world. But Harry Kane will play attacking midfield. He'll play like a 6. He'll play like a center back, like a left back, like a right back, like any position you want, I guess, outside of keeper. Give the guy some gloves and maybe he'll do that too. But Harry Kane does so much for this Bayern Munich team. There is no other striker in the world, let alone striker in the world who's scoring the most goals in the world, who will defend his ass off up 4-0 in the 90th minute of a random-ass Bundesliga match. Nobody else in the world is doing that except for Harry Kane. He is one of the top leaders on this team. A guy on Bayern gets unfairly challenged. Harry Kane will be up in the face of the defender, chewing him out, letting him have it. He's got his teammates back. And, there's a side of Harry Kane that I believe is in there deep down. I don't think people who don't watch him every single week know this about him or see this in him, but he does have that dog in him. And it only comes out, like I said, in these moments where somebody just flattens, pancakes a teammate for no good reason. It comes out in these moments, on the highest of high levels where he'll just score a goal or ice cold will bang a penalty. I'm thinking back to that moment against Real Madrid. Harry Kane steps up to the spot to take a pen, and Jude Bellingham is in his ear bitching at him, telling him, you're going to go this way, this, that, and the other. I don't know how the ref didn't pull Jude away because he's not supposed to be there, but Harry Kane, just cold as ice, banged the pen, and after the match said, I didn't even know he was talking to me. Someone asked him what he said to him. He said, I didn't hear. I didn't even know. So deep down, that's all to say that deep down, Harry Kane has that dog in him, and it comes out when you need it the most. He's the best in the world. Harry Kane, 10 out of 10. I mean, it's just expected that the guy is going to score a hat trick every single match, and that's absurd to say. So, last but not least, Vincent Kompany, 10 out of 10 for Kompany as well. I'm not worried about this draw against Union Berlin. It really was a historic start up until that draw. They were 16 for 16, all wins. They're still unbeaten, but they did get that draw, and I'm not going to dock Kompany for it, is what I'm trying to say. He's just been so perfect. He has pushed the right buttons this year, pulled the right strings. He has rotated guys when he's needed to. He's played guys at the right positions. He has adapted his tactics from last year. His high line isn't always a high line. I mean, you saw it. The PSG match is a perfect example of why Kompany is one of the best managers in the world and the perfect coach for this Bayern Munich squad. He destroyed PSG in Paris. He went into their backyards and destroyed them offensively. I mean, Bayern should have put, 3, 4, 5 goals in the back of the net in that first half. And they ended up putting 2 into the back of the net and allowing none in that first half. And, Paris didn't have a chance. I mean, PSG was looking befuddled out there. They were lost. And then in the second half, Luis Diaz gets that red card wrongly assessed by the ref. And in that second half, he says, all right, let's flip the script. Let's just defend our asses off against one of the best attacking units in all of Europe. And he does it. I mean, he allows 1 goal for over 45 minutes and really just, beat PSG at both ends of the tactical spectrum, attacking, defending. Vincent Kompany did it. So, 10 out of 10 for Vincent. And before we get out of here, let's look at the Bundesliga table. This is the state of the Bundesliga. You have Bayern Munich on top of the table. We probably talked about them enough in this one, huh? 28 points. Leipzig at number 2. You have Leipzig with 22 points. I was a little bit surprised. I mean, I thought Leipzig, I guess I don't remember what I had them finishing, but I figured, they'd be top 5. But Leipzig, at the moment is surprising me with how good they've been. They got crushed 6-0 to Bayern in that first match of the year, but since then, they've been great. And I've been impressed with Ole Werner just because I think Leipzig is a tough team to manage with all the guys they have coming in and coming out. A lot of young, exciting talents that it's hard to get them to work together as a cohesive unit. In my mind. So credit where credit's due. Leipzig is looking very good so far. Dortmund, they were my pick to finish second in the league, and I still do think that they will. But, Leipzig has a fair shot at it as well. But Borussia Dortmund has had a solid season so far as well. They couldn't beat Bayern. They gave it their all in a hard-fought, exciting 2-1 match there. But Niko Kovac has instilled a bit of discipline, a bit of pragmatism that I think was missing in Dortmund in recent years. They had a number of managers whose styles were just honestly like vastly different, from Terzic to Nuri Sahin, now to Kovac. They're kind of ping-ponging back and forth between styles. So I think they have settled on Niko Kovac's disciplinarian ways, I guess I'll say. And it suited them well because Dortmund, I think, does have a little bit of a maturity problem, or has in the past. Who can forget when they blew the Bundesliga on the last day to Thomas Tuchel's Bayern Munich? I guess Nagelsmann for the first half of the year, Tuchel for the second half of the year. And Bayern had no business winning the league that year, but Dortmund had the bottle job of all bottle jobs. So I think Dortmund maybe is still, I don't want to say still mentally recovering from that, but I just think there's a stigma around the club that they are bottlers at this point. Sorry if you're a Dortmund fan. I guess if you're a Dortmund fan and you're watching this and you made it this far in the video, I respect you and I should show more respect to your team. Stuttgart next, I mentioned it, 21 points as well in fourth place. Sebastian Hoeneß, I think, is a great, great manager. And I think, while I don't think Stuttgart has the best defense, I think their midfield and their attack is really good. And I foresee them finishing in the top five as well. So credit to Stuttgart for being up there. They were really decimated with injuries last year and had a down year. But prior to that, actually finished second in the table. Next up, you got Bayer Leverkusen. Casper Hoyman is really turning this team around after they were broken by Eric Ten Hag, basically, who, by reports, was a bit of a dick and just not a good coach either. They started off the year with, I believe, 2 losses or maybe 2 losses and a draw or something. And Eric Ten Hag was sacked after that. But Casper here has really turned this team around, and they've been looking really good lately, except for that 3-0 loss against Bayern. Against Bayern's B team, I will say, Leverkusen looked pathetic in that match. They looked like they did not come out to fight at all. They also got smoked against PSG in the Champions League, 7-2 here. But other than that, Leverkusen has looked good. And I guess I should mention I did watch this Pokal match as well. It was wild. It was really up and down, and it went into extra time. So they kind of snuck out with that one. But Pokal matches, again, like a little bit of a different story. Hoffenheim, surprising me, with 19 points in the league. Last year I thought they were going to be really good and then in a relegation battle, but they were down in the doldrums, basically like 14th, 15th for a lot of the season. And this year I predicted them to suck. I mean, Tom Bischoff was their best player last year and he left, and now they're looking great. So Christian Ilzer, I'm sorry for doubting you, but I think I actually predicted them to get relegated, to be honest, before the year, but they're sitting in sixth. I would be shocked if they finished in sixth, but I could definitely see them with a top 10 finish. Frankfurt, I think Dino Topmuller is an amazing coach. I think that Frankfurt should be a lot higher. They were sitting at third, maybe second for a bit in the Bundesliga, but have fallen off like a lot lately. They barely beat Mainz. This draw to Napoli was actually good in the Champions League, but they drew to Heidenheim, which is embarrassing. They should not have drawn there. This is an understandable loss, penalties against Dortmund in the Pokal, but they got smoked by Liverpool. Obviously lost to Bayern, drew to Freiburg here, and just had some results that are unacceptable if you're a team like Frankfurt, in my mind. They got some good additions this summer. Obviously, they lost some key additions, which is explaining some things. But they added Ritsu Dohan, who I think is a great Bundesliga player. They added Jonathan Burkhardt. Obviously, losing Ekiteke, that's going to hurt. Losing Marmouche, maybe I shouldn't have thought too highly of them with those losses that they did have. But seventh place right now for Frankfurt. I would expect them to be fighting for a top 5 spot. Werder Bremen has been hot lately, but up and down. I'm not going to lie. They started off the year pretty poorly. I don't know how to put it any other way. They started off in the dumps, but they've been really, really good lately. You see this win against Wolfsburg. That was kind of a fun match. I watched that one. And they drew to Mainz here, beat Union Berlin. So, up and down for Bremen, but there's just a lot of teams in this realm right here, kind of 7 through whatever, 11 maybe, not separated by a whole lot of points. So there's going to be a lot of teams that are just flip-flopping positions in this area of the table. Bremen's going to be looking for a top 10 finish, though. Then you got FC Köln. I would say the surprise of the season. I thought they would be up and down between Zweite Bundesliga and Bundesliga, but it's looking like they're here to stay, at least for now, sitting in 9th place in the Bundesliga. They actually started off even better, but have dropped a little bit in form since the beginning of the year. But Köln is just a feisty team that fights, and I got to respect them. I really do. But again, I don't necessarily expect them to finish top 10. I could see it, but I don't expect them to. I think I'm looking more at like 10 through 13 for Köln. You got FC Freiburg here in 10th. Julian Schuster had a very, very good year last year, and this year, actually last couple of years, Freiburg has been pretty good. But honestly, this year is a step in the wrong direction, and I can't exactly put my finger on it. I mean, they lost Ritsu Dohan. I talked about how much I liked him. I think he was an important player for Freiburg, but they just honestly no excuses for how they've been playing this year. They quite frankly need to be better, kind of fighting for this like I don't know, 8, 7, 6 spot in my mind. Union Berlin, a surprising team for me as well. I thought they would be kind of down 14, 15 ish, not necessarily relegated, but kind of down a little bit lower. They're sitting at 11. Stefan Baumgart, he plays this kind of defensive style with Union Berlin, lacking fireworks in that attack, but solid defense. They can win some tough matches at home or draw, even against the best of the best, as we see here, drawing against Bayern Munich at home. So yeah, like solid stuff for Union Berlin. This is kind of, I don't want to say their ceiling because they could get up a little bit higher, but they're not going to be like fighting for top four really. Gladbach, could be the most disappointing team of the season so far, maybe depending on who you ask, but Gladbach should be up fighting for, again, that like 6, 7, 8 in my mind. But, a historic Bundesliga side, they started off the year in 18th for a while. They were so bad at the beginning. You see a couple of this is a friendly match, but you see a couple of nice matches they've had recently starting to turn things around, beating Cologne, which is a huge win for Gladbach, crushing St. Pauli, winning in the Pokal again, albeit a lucky draw. But yeah, I mean, they actually fought pretty hard against Bayern, down a man, to be honest. I think it was 0-0 at half. And after that, they've really turned things around, I guess, for Gladbach compared to how bad they were beginning of the year. They just got that fire back in their eyes after holding Bayern to 0 goals for a half, I guess. Hamburg, they are in 13th. I don't rate them very much. I think they're obviously a great team to have in the Bundesliga because of their history. Merlin Polson, I'm not convinced with yet. I think he is and I think this is how I feel about Hamburg in general. I think they're a good fight to Bundesliga side. I think he's a good fight to Bundesliga manager. But do I see him challenging for like European football in the Bundesliga? Not yet. Maybe this team and maybe Merlin Polson will get there, but I just don't quite see it. Wolfsburg, a very, very, very disappointing season for Wolfsburg. They should be kind of around this 10 spot in my mind, but they just have not looked good lately. They have not been able to put it together for whatever reason, because they do have some talented players in my mind, some guys who should be able to, be decent in the Bundesliga. Augsburg, another team that has been incredibly disappointing, sitting in 15th here. Sandro Wagner, I've not been shy about it, is a manager who I actually really like. I think he was a key assistant under, Julian Nagelsmann in the Euros for Germany recently, 2024. But, I think he's a little bit of a kind of lead by emotion, stubborn kind of guy, which I like in a manager. I don't like the stubbornness, but I love the just raw emotion that he portrays and the style of football that he wants to play. The problem is I just don't think he can do it with Augsburg. Augsburg last year under Jes Thorup was a mid-table team, but they were so defensive, and that's all they could do. And Sandro Wagner was brought in to kind of change the culture and make them an exciting team, which maybe he's done, but obviously it hasn't worked out because they have been losing so many matches after a bright start, I will say. Although they just lost. Oh man, get out of here. Get out of here. Okay. They just lost to Stuttgart 3-2. And this was actually a really good match. They deserved better in my mind. And they fought hard against Bayern in the beginning of the year as well. FC St. Pauli, if there's any club I have an attachment to outside of Bayern, it's these guys. Love everything they're about, club culture wise, but they just, man, it's just tough to see them staying up in the Bundesliga for much longer. Alexander Blessin, to his credit, I think has made them a stout defensive team, but they just struggle mightily to score goals, and you need to score goals in the Bundesliga. Their captain, Jackson Irvine, who I love, the most attractive man in football. I'll die on that hill. has been injured for a lot of the season. I believe he's back now. It wasn't good to start the season without him, although they actually did have a good start to the year results-wise, drawing Dortmund on the opening match day. But if you look at this, 5 losses in a row, they can't buy a win. To be honest, right now in the Bundesliga, they did have this exciting win after penalties in the Pokal, which is cool. But yeah, then we got Mainz in 17th place. Bummer because I do love Bo Henriksen, but Mainz has kind of fallen off. They are just unfortunately not built for European football. The Carnival Club is juggling Bundesliga ball as well as European ball, and it's just not working out well for these guys, unfortunately. Some key losses as well. You know, Johnny Burkhardt, I mentioned it, playing at Eintracht Frankfurt right now is the big one, and I don't think Mainz has the horses to run in, the Bundesliga this year, unfortunately, because I do like them. And you got another team that I like, Heidenheim, in 18th place. Frank Schmidt is an awesome manager, was a player for the club, was manager for a million years. I think the longest standing manager in all of Europe, if I am not mistaken. If I am mistaken, I'd love for you to leave me a comment. Also, subscribe maybe. But yeah, Frank Schmidt and Heidenheim are not probably cut out for Bundesliga. I've gushed about their story so many times on the Always Bayern Chelsea channel, but lo and behold, they might get relegated this year. They had a nice relegation playoff win against Elversberg, another super small club actually from the Zweite Bundesliga last year. I don't know if they're going to be able to hold off the automatic relegation this year, unfortunately, because I love Mainz. I do love Mainz, but I love Heidenheim as well because they're just such a good story. Really. Nowhere else in Europe would a team as small as Heidenheim be able to make the top flight. It's one of the reasons why I am romantic about the Bundesliga and why I love the Bundesliga so very much with all my heart. So there you go. I'm going to leave it at that for this November international break, state of the season address. Club football will be back upon us soon. I know it feels shitty without it right now, but lo and behold, it'll be back soon. Please please subscribe, most importantly, and please leave us a comment. I love interacting with y'all in the comments, and obviously we're putting more effort into this Always Bayern Chelsea YouTube thing lately, so it would mean a lot if you would subscribe, and that enables us to be able to put even more effort into it going forward. You'll hear from Jim soon as well on the Chelsea side of things. But for now, let me make myself full screen to tell you this. Mia San Mia. Forever.